Glad you could join us for another episode of You Say Maize, I Say Blue. I am, of course, your host, Chris Cichon.
Of course.
Joined, of course, by the very maize-looking Danny Sass.
I know you're feeling this.
Very nice. MC Sass was your nickname just a couple seconds ago. You got any more rhymes before we get going?
No, I was just rocking rhymes pre-show. I'll stick to regular old general.
Well, you know, we don't usually start with rhymes. Usually we start this way. Danny, you can go ahead and say maize. I'm going to say blue, as in there's nobody feeling any bluer than Plaxico Burress these days.
Well, Chris, you can go ahead and say blue. I'm going to say maize, as in enough about Plaxico for a second. I know you're amazed at my official varsity-looking Adidas Michigan dry fit shirt. I've been fooling people into thinking I'm an athlete all day today.
Oh, is that what you're going for?
I don't know if it's the build or the muscles, but the ladies have been coming up
to me. Put those away here. We got enough gun content on the show today.
What varsity sport do I play? And, I just very calmly look at them, say football, and continue walking. And I think the build kind of helps with that. So just figured I'd share that.
It's obvious. It is obvious.
Chris, we're going to jump right into our rundown today. As you see on your screen in front of you, we're leading off with Plaxico Burress. Shot himself in the thigh this weekend, the high-profile Giants wide receiver, in a bit of trouble. Chris, what happened?
Well, I mean,
Sum it up for us.
He's in the club. He accidentally shoots himself with his own gun. That was not registered. That was illegal, which makes it a very serious crime there in New York City. And now it looks like his career with the New York Giants is probably over. His NFL career is likely over. Very big implications here. And here's a guy, Danny, that he's been causing nothing but problems this whole year. Ever since he signed that 5-year, $35 million extension that he definitely deserved after last year's great performance at Lambeau Field in the Super Bowl.
Oh, of course.
And now it's been nothing but holdout problems at the beginning of the year during training camp, missing meetings in October and drawing team fines and also league fines for criticizing officiating.
And he's one of those guys who's always been on his own little island. He came into this league and everyone knew how talented he was. He showed that in his rookie season with Pittsburgh. But for every big game, for every big season he has one bonehead moment that just always seems to stand out, whether it's, spiking the ball after making a catch his rookie year, but not getting touched and ultimately resulting in a fumble that costs the Steelers the game. Whether it's the fines or the suspensions or the domestic battery charges and now shooting himself in the leg. He doesn't seem to get it. There's a bit of a problem there. But I think at the same time, this is a receiver who is very, very talented, and at the same time, like I said, kind of off on his own little island.
What's he doing carrying a gun around, Danny? What's he doing?
We heard news came out that his teammate Steve Smith had been robbed just 2 days earlier, so maybe he wanted it for protection. But again, that's an issue.
Still, you're a
high-profile celebrity, an athlete living in New York City. You don't want to be caught with a gun on you, whether you're shooting yourself or not.
Especially one that's not registered.
It's illegal.
At least register the thing,
He committed a crime. And as Mayor Bloomberg in New York said, they're going to prosecute this to the fullest extent of the law.
Yeah, minimum 3.5 years in jail. If you're a wide receiver, there's no way you're going to be able to come back and be an NFL player. So, not even go down that avenue. Possibly 15 years at the maximum. So, a stupid decision, one stupid night does it all, and your career is gone. So, everybody can learn from this. One night can change your whole life.
Does this definitely end his tenure with the Giants?
Oh, definitely. They're apparently going to put him on the non-football distraction list, whatever you want to call it. And so he'll be ineligible for the rest of the year. Frankly, I don't think they need him. They're 11-1. They are definitely the best team, the strongest team at this point in the NFL. And, he's causing a huge distraction, being very selfish, putting himself in the news like this.
The Giants have done this. They've shown in the last 2 years that they don't need distractions, whether it's Tiki Barber coming out and bad-mouthing Coughlin or bad-mouthing, Eli Manning. Boom, replace him, bring in Brendan Jacobs. Yeah. Shockey, get rid of him, bring in, other tight ends. Kevin Boss. Yeah, so there you go. Burress, Toomer, Hickson, fine. They're a good football team.
Doesn't matter, and it all starts with Tom Coughlin.
That's
all him right there. Danny, keeping it in New York, more trouble on the professional sports scene. Stephon Marbury. I don't know if you ever heard of that name, but being a Knicks fan yourself, what do you think about this guy? He's just basically, the Knicks are 8-8. Did you know that?
Yes, I did.
They are. This hasn't been in the news as much as the name Stephon Marbury.
I watched the game over Thanksgiving break where the Knicks put up 138 points with 7 active players. Would have been 8, but Steph didn't want to play.
Was that the game with David Lee going off?
It was the game where David Lee went off, Quentin Richardson went off, Chris Duhon had 22 assists.
22 assists, that's right.
If the Knicks are going to play like that, that's fine by me. They don't need Stephon Marbury. But you look at a player like Stephon Marbury, who averages almost 20 points per game throughout his career, 8 assists per game throughout his career. You look at those and you say, wow, great numbers. Unselfish player, distributes the basketball.
Not above the shoulders, though.
But it just doesn't equate. There's something about this guy that just brings down his teammates and brings a negative mood to wherever he goes, whether it's Minnesota, whether it's Phoenix, whether it's New Jersey, whether it's New York. he doesn't get the job done. He is not a winner. And when you are a New York sports team in such high-profile atmosphere, in an arena like Madison Square Garden, you have to be a winner. Steph is a quintessential loser and has been from the day he got there. And he's just a problem that the Knicks need to get rid of. And, you know, when you're trying to lure high-profile free agents like LeBron James in 2010, and LeBron is looking at this mess that the Knicks organization has created, it's a laughingstock. It's an absolute joke.
This case, I mean, it's where his past is coming back to haunt him, because this issue with New York stems back to 5 years ago when Mike D'Antoni came into Phoenix as coach and had a bad relationship with him.
Get him out.
That's still here.
He knew something.
When D'Antoni was hired, you knew Marbury would never play. I thought it was funny. Marbury was at the press conference and introduced D'Antoni.
D'Antoni comes in into Phoenix and turns them into an immediate winner. And the one piece of that puzzle was he got rid of Marbury. Marbury goes to New York with Isaiah Thomas and turned that team very quickly into a perennial
Not the guy you want on
loser.
your team if you're trying to win games. Not going to happen. I mean, great player individually, but again, that doesn't do anything for you. I mean, where's his NBA career going to go? Who wants that kind of contract, first of all, making $21 million this year? So I don't see why they don't just release the guy, get rid of him. I don't understand that point either. There must be something behind the scenes there.
Boatloads of cash that they'll end
for
up
a guy to sit on the
swallowing,
bench. I mean, it's ridiculous.
It's a joke. Moving on, Chris, another joke, another mess. That would be the BCS.
A lot of them today.
How shafted did Texas get? I mean, are there other teams that got shafted? How is this going to resolve itself is the question.
It's absolutely ridiculous that Texas just completely robbed. I mean, here they are. They beat Oklahoma head-to-head, neutral field, and they say, okay, Oklahoma's better than you, just because, you know, they were a little hotter at the end of the year. So, I mean, the BCS is just a total crapshoot. Every game does not matter. Every game matters, but the ones in November and December matter more. That's what it really should say.
That's exactly what it boils down to. And if you're going to make the claim that, you know, Texas has a shot and they're getting snubbed because they beat Oklahoma, well,
ridiculous.
Texas Tech beat Texas. Yeah, you know, maybe people don't think they're for real. Maybe they lost by a little bit more, but let's be real. They're also Big 12 South co-champions, along with Texas and along with Oklahoma. Each team beat each other team, and yet there's no way for those three teams to somehow fairly determine who emerges. It's not a good system.
Who cares about what happened most recently, Danny? The bottom line is Texas beat Oklahoma. That's the bottom line. So how is it that Oklahoma is above them?
Texas Tech beat Texas.
So? It doesn't matter. We're talking about two teams here.
Well, why two teams, though? I'm saying a third team could very easily be involved and just make this even more of a mess.
That's true. I'm sorry, I misspoke. But
yeah, I mean, there's a third team that has an equal claim that's getting so pushed to the back of this conversation in Texas Tech. And I know they lost very, very badly to Oklahoma, but if you're a voter, shouldn't you say, wow, this is a really good football team who played one bad game. I'm not going to punish them for that one bad game?
Well,
I mean, let's use
bottom line is the whole system is just a complete mess, starting with the Big 12. Don't forget that. They have to revise that system for the three-way tiebreaker, make it more, definitely, probably more like the SEC's, where, you know, it goes by, you know, head-to-head there. And then the BCS, just complete mess in general.
I know you hate, you know, the small conference schools getting a chance here, but Utah undefeated.
Boise State. Right?
Boise State undefeated. And these teams aren't even in the picture. So
why don't we just do this? Why don't we make another bowl game and we'll just every year have the two best lousy schools play each other? So like a BCS game could be Boise State and Utah. That'd be a good game.
But what comes from the result of that? There's no national
Nothing,
championship.
Exactly.
There's no crown.
Well, if you put them on the stage with the big school program.
We've seen from a school like USC, who has a weaker strength of schedule than a school like Utah, how hard it is to go through a schedule undefeated. USC couldn't do it. Florida couldn't do it. Oklahoma couldn't do it. Texas couldn't do it. I don't care who you're playing. It's tough. It's very, very difficult to go from start to finish undefeated. Utah should be rewarded for that. Boise State should be rewarded for that. And there's a very good chance that now Boise State's going to get the shaft and not make a BCS bowl because it all comes down to money and fans. And you know damn well that fans in Glendale and at the Fiesta Bowl are going to rather see a team like Ohio State over a team like Boise State.
Yeah,
that's what it's going to come down to.
It's exactly why we need an 18 playoff, if you ask me, Danny.
Be perfect.
Jumping in, enough about football, enough about all the problems. Let's look at something good in sports these days.